and Banter Podcast. Banter Podcast. Brews and Banter Podcast. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Brews and Banter Podcast. I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, is the Legendary Brew Crew. What up, fellas?
I was reading this weekend.
Mama.
Nah, it doesn't taste like dirt.
My name is Lou Belgium, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm wondering.
Does Delaware have an actual culture? This is the podcast that we talk about beer, but we also talk about a lot of things that's happening in the world, politics, movies, anything really that comes to our mind while we're here sampling these brews. Grab a drink and pull up a chair.
Ooh, we love you, Brews and Banter Podcast.
Today I'm taking only cash. Today I'm trying to make it last.
What up? Welcome to Bruising Banter Podcast, where the topic is the rockin' and the brew. Well, that be the fuel. I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, the Legendary Brew Crew. What's going on, yo?
What up? Hi. Yo, sometimes I feel like you just lose what's happening. What just happened just now when you turned the music off? It was like you was like thinking about what you should do.
No. I was looking at my board and stuff. I'm over here. I'm the producer, and I'm doing it on producing.
There you
over
go.
Here.
Now you want to just brag about what you do. It's fine. I'm just happy to be back.
Yeah, I'm trying to make the levels right. You know what I mean? Make sure they look right on the board. That's what So I'll be looking around, just making sure. I don't want to be like on our TikTok joint where it was like we do an hour hour show. I need to hit record. We don't want that happening. So I gotta make sure.
It has happened. It definitely has happened, and that sucks.
I don't know if it went an hour. I was exaggerating.
No, it was a long time though.
Like 15 minutes maybe.
Yeah, it was a long time. Yo, one thing I do want to say is that I'm happy to be back. I got away from that weird guy from last week.
Yeah, welcome back.
It was hard. It was definitely hard to do, but I did get away. And he didn't take nothing from me. Only thing that I didn't get to taste the beer that he had, but I don't care because I only had one. He took it. So, But I got away. I won. I'm here. Man, they can't stop me, man. They can't stop me.
Snatch, I guess you lost. You 0 for 1 now, I guess.
0 for 1. He gonna keep trying though. Probably he gonna get some sucker.
Yeah,
but not me.
He ain't gonna get this here on Brews and Banter Podcast. I hope nobody here.
He just didn't get this sucker.
I'm gonna get you, sucker. No,
that's how he said it.
That's how he said it.
Yeah, he said, "I'm gonna get you, sucker," and he grabbed me.
Oh, all right.
It's cool.
All right. This is episode 234 of Bruising Banter Podcast. And if it's your first time listening, what's going on? How y'all doing? I'm glad you are here with us this afternoon, this morning, this evening, whenever you're listening or watching. If you are fellow bruisers or bruisettes, hey, glad you're still with us for episode 234. Because we're just going to jump right in it because we do have a great guest with us this afternoon, this morning, this evening. Started out in tech, serial entrepreneur, franchise I don't know. Is it franchisor or franchisee?
Franchisalist. Franchisalist.
I don't think that's it. That's terrible.
That's horrible.
But actually, no, that's actually like a franchise evangelist. Like, so it could work.
I mean, if we had a capitalist on here and they, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same thing.
But even if it's not even correct, but a French evangelist would be good because you preaching about the pros of being a franchisor or E. I think E is the person that is buying a franchisor from the franchise. I guess we'll find out more about it.
Stop making up shit and find out, huh?
Yeah, how about that? Without further ado, want to bring Chris Wilson of damn, I lost his well, he'll tell me all about it. On his podcast.
Yo,
What's going on, fellas? What's going on?
what's happening? It's funny how we act like we couldn't find out what it's really called. Like we just made up shit.
Hey, sometimes we do. Welcome to the podcast. We are glad you are here. And I had it in my notes, but my notes is a lot. But what is the what is the name of your consulting business?
Oh, Legacy Franchise Ventures.
Legacy Franchise Ventures. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I got that in the beginning. But before we get into all that, I always like to know what everybody is drinking on. So, what are we drinking today? And we always start with our guests. So, Chris, what are you drinking today?
Well, today I'm sipping on a Voodoo Ranger IPA out of Belgium. And then I have, on the other side, I have a little Uncle Nearest that I'll be chasing that back with.
Oh, all right.
That's it. Wait, that's wrong. Backwards. You're gonna chase the beer with Uncle Nearest?
Yeah,
what's Uncle Nearest? Whiskey?
Yep.
That's a weird chaser. That's what you gonna chase the whiskey with?
More beer.
That sounds like a bad idea, but hey, on that Voodoo Ranger, what's Voodoo Ranger's ABV?
Let's see. You know I'm getting old. I can't look at stuff no more, man.
You need some readers.
Yeah, I need some readers. 7%. We go 7%. Yeah.
Man, it's high ABV.
Shout out to New Belgium and their Voodoo Ranger series.
Yeah. Shout out to Uncle Nearest too.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was one of the first black owned whiskey companies.
Yeah.
So shout out to
I just saw on Instagram they're doing a scholarship for HBCUs, writing big checks across the country, man. So I'll grab a bottle of Nearest.
Yeah, I got a bottle up on my shelf. I'm not a big whiskey drinker, but because I wanted to support, I just grabbed me one.
There you go.
Got some too. I got some too.
All right, yo, what you drinking on?
So because we went to Attic, what was that weekend before last? So so when we went up to Attic, I grabbed this. Was it last week? I don't know. I'm confused, man. Ever since the New Year's, I've been confused about the days and times and everything going on in my life currently. I'll catch up at some point.
Or you were snatched, so that's understandable.
Yeah, I had a hard life, man. This is hard out here. But we went to Attic Brewing up in Philly, which is our people's. And I got this Separate Paths Baltic Porter from there, and so this is what it looks like in the glass. Nice dark beer, and it's all roasty and caramel flavor. It got that good. It just tastes like it tastes like a dark beer, like them roasty malts and that burnt caramel flavor to it. That's what it is, burnt caramel. But it's delicious. Like I would definitely get another one of these. Pass me another. Now, one thing I can say is that I have no idea what the ABV is on this thing, unless like right offhand. Do you know?
I'm gonna go. It has to be. It was not as high as the first one, so it's like 12. I think it's like 12%.
Oh shit! Wait! Hold on, bro. Hold on. 12%. I got shit to do later. I'll be sleep fucking with this.
You're talking about Chris. You're gonna be laid up too. Yeah, I think their anniversary report was like 14, so I think that was a little lighter.
That was like barrel age, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's like between 10 and 12. It's around that area.
Okay, I'll just sip it. It's good, but I'm gonna just try to sip it. Try.
All right.
What you drinking on?
I'm actually drinking on, and it was funny, in honor of folks who are holding down dry January. I'm actually drinking from Athletic Brewing. There it is. There it is. Athletic Brewing. Their golden upside down Dawn Golden L, I guess it is. Or is it a lager? But there it is, nice and clear. In my Brews and Banter taster. This has less than 5% alcohol. So I'll be good. I'll be good later.
So Athletic does make beer with alcohol in it.
Well, I don't think it has enough to say it's NA. It's enough. It's
Really?
low enough. Yeah.
So wait. So it's because there's actual beers that aren't considered non-alcoholic beers that are low ABV.
Yeah, but this has like less than 0.5%.
Oh, less than 0.5. 0.5. Okay, I thought you were saying 5%. Yo, but that's crazy though. Like I'm never going to drink those.
That's actually delicious.
Because the point of me drinking a beer is so I could taste the beer and get the buzz.
Oh, that's your point. Oh, so the flavor sometimes is delicious. This is a nice malty, oaty flavors. It's real. Actually, this is a lot. Athletic makes some of the best non-alcoholic beers. Like when you think of non-alcoholic, you think of those ones that first came out years ago. I can't remember what they were. They were terrible.
Too. Yeah.
These have flavor.
I wasn't even really into beer back then, but they were. I knew that was trash. That was not good.
Yeah,
but
the ingredients: water, malted barley, oats, hops, wheat, and yeast. That's it. It's just nice, clean. 45 calories if you're into that as well.
Yo, I'll be sitting there with Chris dumping that Uncle Nearest into the beer. I'm like, what? I don't want this.
And then stir it up, right?
Yeah. Like, I get it. Like, people try not to drink this month, but like, to me, that's like gateway to drinking. Like, if I had one of those and it doesn't do what what normally happens to me, I'm gonna go grab a beer.
Well, it's for people who are intentionally trying not to drink alcohol, but they still love beer, or they like the conversation that happens around beer. This is definitely a good option if you like, hey, I'm going to a party, people are drinking, and I want to hang out, but I don't want to partake. You bring you an Athletic or any NA, because a lot of breweries are starting to have an NA option in their brewery. This is a good option.
I get it, but not for me.
It's flavorful, tasty. I'm gonna say, pass me another. Shout out to Attic Brewing and what they doing up there in
Athletic, not Attic.
I said Attic. Oh, Attic. Athletic.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm already drunk. so I needed to drink something else. I drink early. That's all these A's. Athletic. So Athletic Brewing. Shout out I think they're in Connecticut, but I think this is brewed in San Diego. I think I saw. I think they're based out of Milford, Connecticut, and San Diego, California. And 2% of all sales go to restoring local trails. So shout out to them. They're trying to give back in their Athletic is in their title. So they want you to get out there hiking and biking.
Hope you
I
think for the brew.
I think why that's not for me is because, one, I don't drink that much, right? And so when I drink, I want the buzz. So it's like people do have their little dry seasons, but my season's dry a lot because I don't drink that much. It's just that when we go to like a brewery or something, I'll have a beer, and then Sunday I'll have a beer. But like throughout the week, I don't drink.
I mean, when you're knocking back 3 10%, you're probably good for 2 weeks.
You might be right though. When I go in, I go in. But when I'm out, I'm out.
All right. Well, let's see. Everybody has something to take in as we understand what the difference between being an entrepreneur and a franchisee is and all that good stuff. So, and then you can give us the rundown of who you are, Chris, and how you got to where you are, what your impetus in starting to getting to be an entrepreneur.
What you just said?
Impetus. What?
Stop using that word, man. Shout out to Lou Belgium because he would have said the same thing.
Yeah, the catalyst. What was the catalyst, or what made you pivot from tech to franchise? Is that better? Pivot
Thanks.
like that?
Y'all niggas went to college. I didn't. So stop using those words with me, man.
So without further ado, we want to give the floor to Chris Wilson. And like they say, the proverbial floor is yours.
Man, I appreciate you fellas for having me on. I guess brief background. I went to Rutgers University, graduated with a degree in information technology, started in corporate America. Things were going smooth until I got tapped on my shoulder and got laid off one morning randomly, right? And that was kind of what hit the fire. So at the time, I didn't have any kids. I wasn't married. So it was a pretty seamless transition. But I kind of thought, like, I don't like the way that felt. I don't want that to ever happen again. So I started researching franchises. I guess back in the day when I was in high school, my first job was, remember Carvel Ice Cream Bakery? Remember that ice cream store, right? So 14, see, y'all in the Northeast, so Carvel. Some other parts of the country, they're like, what was that? But my first job was at Carvel. So I worked there in high school. And what I found was that the dude that owned it was like 30 years old. And I was like, I didn't know you could own a business that early. And so I started asking some questions, trying to figure out how he did that, right? And what I found was that his father was rich. His father owned a chain of jewelry stores. And when his kids turned 30, he would gift them a business and basically tell them, like, listen, you off my payroll now. You don't have your shot. If you take it and do well, the world is yours. If you run it into the ground and end up broke, I gave you my shot, right? So I thought that was super dope. I went back to my dad like, hey, can you buy me a franchise? And he was like, boy, you can't get out my face. So the dude, the father, he owned a chain of jewelry stores. My father did not own a chain of jewelry stores, so things was a little different. My father did well, but not that well, right? So I had to figure out another way. And I met a good friend of mine, my mentor to this day, and he was in franchising, and I just got frustrated one day. It was like a Sunday afternoon. My team wasn't playing, so I didn't care about interrupting his football game. So I called him up, like, hey man, what's going on? I don't have a lot of money, but I want to get in the franchise. And like, I always thought you needed $1 million, right? That was just a number that I had in my head. And so I said,
remind me to come back to that when you get done.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna be straight up with you. I don't want to waste your time. I don't have $1 million. Is it even worth us having a conversation? He was like, well, I'm not going to talk to you now, because he's a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And he was like, my Steelers is playing, but call me tomorrow and we could chop it up. And that was like a life-changing conversation right there, man. He just opened the door to so many different things. And then I went through the process and ended up investing in a franchise. And it's just been, pedal to the metal since.
Nice.
Go ahead, Rob.
Well, because I was thinking, so you first got introduced to franchises because when you worked at Carvel, however you say it. But then I guess once, I guess you got laid off. Then you said, let me look at franchising. That's how it kind of worked. So what was the? So what was your when you had the conversation? What did you learn to say? Yeah, now I want to start this this franchise.
Yeah, what did he say that was like, man, had you going, I'm into this?
Well, number one, I always thought, and a lot of us do, I always, I'm thinking immediately about like McDonald's and Chick-fil-A, right? Those are the franchises that we think about. McDonald's, you got to have $1 million cash, right? The net worth requirements for those types of franchises are significant, and there's some of them you need food experience, which I didn't really have, right? Working at Carvel doesn't count as like running a restaurant per se, right? So, but what he did was he opened my eyes to just how many different industries there are in franchising, right? So there's some stuff that we don't think about, from, automotive to senior care to, insurance. Man, there's a franchise that comes and sprays my backyard for mosquitoes, right? So there's so many different industries out there, so many different investment levels, which to me is the most important, right? Like sometimes you got to work your way up to that $1 million business if that's what you're shooting for. And so he was able to show me that, hey, listen, based on what you have and what you're willing to spend and your skill set, these are some options that might be a good fit for you, right? So when he presented those, I was kind of like, oh, not not McDonald's, like it's not what I thought it was going to be, but I could make some money and keep my job, which was my goal at the time. So it just kind of fit, right? It was what I was looking for.
Okay.
Nice. Okay.
Yo, so when I say make sure I come back to that, like, because a lot of people, when it gets into any type of business, their mindset is like, how much money do I need to have? I need to already have money to get money, because that's what a lot of people say. You got to spend it to get it. So
Yep.
like when you said that you didn't have $1 million to start like a franchise, like what were you looking at, like as far as an amount that you needed? Is it in the thousands, or I guess it depends on the franchise, I guess.
Yeah, it totally depends on the franchise, but I've seen franchises as low as, $40,000, $50,000 to up above $1 million. So I kind of say it's just like buying a house, right? If you go to a realtor and say, I want a house, they're going to ask you, well, how much you want to spend? You want a shack for $70,000 that you got to, put some work in, or you want a multi-millionaire mansion that, looks baller from the door, right? So it's about getting in where you fit in. So I think it's the same thing for business, right? So for me, I know I didn't have a bunch of money. I had probably a couple $100,000 saved up in like my retirement. And so I was able to use some of that, get a business loan, slap those two things together. Boom, there we go.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know, what was your first franchise?
Now, I'm not going to tell you, man. You're going to laugh at me, man.
What was it? Come
Why
on.
would I laugh at you?
I'm gonna laugh. It's like,
It was that we on this beer podcast talking about all this stuff, but it was a Pilates studio, ironically,
Okay.
man. It was,
yeah, okay.
in the fitness world. And it's, I guarantee you that I did not wake up and say, I want to run a Pilates studio. But when we kind of looked at like what could fit, what was in my price range, what I thought made sense, that was the one that kind of stuck out. And that's the one I went after.
No, were you in there teaching them Pilates?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And that speaks to the type of franchise, right? So there's some franchises where, as the business owner, you'll never do any of that day-to-day operations. You're going to pay the bills, you're going to run payroll, you're going to hire people, you're going to make like management decisions, but the last thing you want to do is see me teach a Pilates class. So I saved the membership from that,
All right. Actually, hey, a lot of people drink beer, go to do Pilates. I've seen them all the time. I mean, you got to work for your beer and earn your beer and all that stuff and good stuff. So, I mean, we wouldn't laugh at you because of the choice.
I mean, it must have worked out for you if you continued on to like, so we can't laugh at that because
right.
Well, it's funny, right? When he first told me about it, I like literally, I'm not even, you're gonna think this is a joke, but all I knew about Pilates was the Kanye line. Remember, he was like, all the mocha lattes, you gotta do Pilates. That's literally all I knew about Pilates. So I had to look it up, and I'm like, it's funny, they like doing the process, if things are going well, they'll fly you out to their headquarters to like meet you face to face to make sure that you are who you say you are, just so you could get more information. And I remember going, but I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm just going to go because number one, they're paying for the trip. Number two, I like to travel. I get to see a part of California I never saw before. And in my head, I was like, I'm going to go that way when I find something I do like a boxing gym or a brewery, like I'll know what questions to ask. Like, that's literally why I went on the trip. And then when I got out there and I just started getting more information, and it was dope too, because they had us on a nice little party bus, and we would go from like location to location, and you'd pull up at a location and 12 women would walk out and 12 women would walk in. There's 12 people in the class, and they're smiling, buying apparel. And I started doing the math and crunching the numbers, and I'm like, wait a minute, like they got something special here. And so when I came, I remember flying back to Florida from Cali, and the whole time on the flight, I'm like, I'm gonna go and tell my wife that we should invest in a Pilates studio. Like, she's gonna think I'm insane. Like, so I was like, I gotta have like my ducks in a row. I'm coming up with like all of these like reasons for how to do it. And 6 hours on the plane, and all I came up with was, babe, I think we should do it. That was my pitch. And luckily she was like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, word? Okay. Like, how? And then we just had to figure the rest out. But that's literally how it happens. So sometimes I tell people, like, the business that you want is not going to be wrapped up in like the shiny bow the way you think it will be. But if it checks all of the other boxes, like, take a shot at it.
Nice.
I mean, that makes sense. Definitely makes sense. I still don't know what Pilates is though. Like I know it's a type of like exercise, maybe,
Yeah.
but I don't know what's the difference between that and
Like deep
yoga.
stretches. It's like deep stretches, right?
So it is deep stretches. It's a full body workout. They have two types of Pilates. There's one that's just done on the mat, which is just all you, and then there's what's called reformer Pilates, which is on a machine. And it looks kind of intimidating, but it's a great workout. Like once you figure out like what to do and how to do it, and you have an instructor that teaches you. So it's a 50-minute class, full body workout. I mean, you'll leave there feeling fantastic, and whatever you do next, like you'll be good at it. So like if you're a runner, you play basketball, I'm sure like LeBron and all these, like Pilates is now becoming like a household name. But athletic people especially, it helps with their core strength, it helps with their flexibility, and it just allows them to do whatever they do at a high level.
Man, I just think when I hear Pilates, I won't be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think of white women in tights and Starbucks.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, right? You're not wrong. That's how it was for a while. So funny, the guy that invented it was he was jacked. If you look it up, his name is Joseph Pilates, and he was like around the time of the war, he was responsible for healing the soldiers when they came back from battle, and they were and he had this crazy idea to put like some like stretchy stuff on a machine and help them move. And he found out that the people that moved, as opposed to just laying in the bed, healed faster, right? And so it just became a thing, and he kind of turned it into this massive thing. But his first Pilates studio was right next door or above a ballet studio. And so a lot of the ballerinas just took a liking to it, which is why we have that connotation that, we think that it's for women and it's not for us. And like, so you got to get that out of your head if you're going to try it. But that's how it started. So you're not wrong. It was geared towards white women in Starbucks and some leggings. Yep.
Yeah. So like any good chef, they got to taste their food. So you went to Pilates, I guess?
Yeah. So when I went out there to California, that was the first time I ever physically walked into a Pilates studio, and they sat us through a class, like a 30-minute class. And at the time I was in pretty good shape. And when I tell you that 30 minutes
tore you up, huh?
Did your boy in, bro? Like it was.
I noticed because like when you could be in shape, but if it's not something that you haven't been doing, then it's a totally different beast, yo. That's the crazy part.
And man, like most of us, like we're not doing. We'll hit that bench, we'll run on that treadmill, we'll do curls, right? The arms is looking good. Like me personally, like the stomach, I'm like, like, so that core strength is just something that we're not into, and it's a different type of workout. Like you can't beast your way through it. Like it's all about doing it slow and doing it the right way. And it's a good, like I don't want to make it sound boring, because it is a good workout. And there are different types of Pilates where some of them are like real intense. You'll be sweating, dripping, and some of them like you won't move but 5 inches in the whole class and really concentrate on some like concentrate on the movement and all of that. And so it's good, man. And I started doing it for a while, and it was cool. And I still do it every once in a while.
Okay.
Okay.
But you said this was in California?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that in California.
Right. So the funny thing is, at the time, their headquarters were in California. So that's where most of their locations were. And I was really worried or curious as to if that would work here, right? Like I live in Orlando, which isn't like Miami, right? We got Disney World and stuff like that. Like when you hear Miami, you hear LA, you think of something, right?
Same
When
thing,
you're
right?
Orlando, you don't get that same thing. So I was a little nervous about if it would work here. But through part of the process of franchising, you talk to people across the country that are running this business. And there was this lady in Birmingham, Alabama, and right. See, and I got on the phone with her and we started talking numbers. And when I tell you she was smacking it, like she was hitting out of the park. And I was just like, if she could do it in Birmingham, Alabama, I know I could get it done here in Orlando.
When I think of Pilates, I would never think of Birmingham, Alabama, ever.
Right. And so now, I mean, that company at the time, they had like 120 locations across the country. Most of them were in California. And now they have like 700 locations across the country. I mean, just about every state. So that's just how much it's grown in the last couple of years.
Nice. So I'm curious to know. So when you decided, maybe. So I guess did you did you decide that you no longer wanted to be a franchiser? So you wanted to help people, guide people to do it. So did you? When did you decide that? Like, hey, maybe I like the business, but I don't want to act. I like rather teaching.
Yeah.
Than
So I do.
Hold on. But before you answer that question, because now I'm confused because what Robert just said, like because you so when you franchise, you were saying you were in charge of the numbers and all that background stuff, right? So what's the difference of being an entrepreneur and being in a franchise, like being a franchisor, or what is it, franchisor?
Yeah, so the franchisor is the company, the franchisee is the investor. Like, so I was a franchisee. Yeah.
Z, okay, you're a franchisee.
But
so what's the difference?
An entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is just someone who's in business for themselves. So franchisees are a type of entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no real difference there. Now I still. So what happened was, like, I posted that I was making this investment on Facebook, like after, on social media, like told friends and family, and people were just like mind blown, like, oh my God, you invested in a franchise. How did you do that? And I was kind of like, well, it wasn't that hard, right? Like, but people were, and I shouldn't, it was hard, but it wasn't like, to me, it wasn't like,
I was going to say, I hate for people that did it say, oh, it wasn't that hard. Because you're done.
Right. So that's what it was. I was like, I love teaching people, right? So anyone that was interested, I'm like, yo, let's have a conversation. I don't know everything, but I'll show you what I know, and we'll carve out a way for you to do something similar, right? And so that just became, so what happened, the guy that introduced me to the Pilates opportunity, he was what you call a franchise consultant. So he researches franchises, all different types, all different models. And then he helps his clients, he guides them through that process like he did for me. And so when we got done, I like connecting people, right? Like if I know that you like beer, I'm gonna be like, hey, try this one. You know what I mean? So anyone that I talked to that was interested in franchising, I just sent over to him if they were qualified and were serious about, getting some information. And so one day he called me like, hey man, like you're doing a better job of vetting these people than some people that get paid for it. He was like, you should totally think about being a franchise consultant. And at the time I'm like, nah, I'm still working full time. And now I'm trying to build this Pilates franchise that I just invested in. So now's not a good time. Like I don't have any more room on my plate right now. Well, a couple months later, business is up and running. I get laid off again from work. Right. Like
sides.
Right. So I didn't even tell you this part. So I closed on my business loan to do this investment, and I got laid off the very next morning. That was layoff number 2. Right. Exactly. And so now I'm like, yo, I got this business loan. I need to make money like right now so that I could pay my bills and, get this business up and running. So I went back to work, and then the business opened, things started going well, like don't let anyone tell you that like you get like successful overnight. Like it's a grind, right? Just like this podcast, you're not going to have 1 million, followers in one night. Like it takes time to get up to that. Business is the same thing. But so a couple months after that, I got laid off for the 3rd time. And that's when I was kind of like, man, I like baseball. 3 strikes, I'm out, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That ain't for you.
Right. And that's funny. Like I called one of my boys and I told him, I was like, man, I just got laid off. He's like, man, Chris, I love you, but I'm tired of hearing this. Like, he was like, when you go, he's like, I'm trying to be there for you, but when you gonna realize like that maybe that just ain't, what's supposed to be done for you. And I was like, So I called my boy back and I was like, you remember a couple months ago when you told me I should be a franchise consultant? Yeah, we need to have a serious conversation about that. And then so that was about 5 years ago, and I started my consulting firm and been helping people do that ever since.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Oh, good. Well, you get a round of applause for that one.
Yo, I'm just sitting here thinking about 3 layoffs. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, bro, it ain't. And they kept getting worse and worse. Like the first time, not married, no kids. Then like you married, then you married with 2 kids.
Responsibility.
Yeah, like come on, man. So.
You like the first one, all right, but now like this is getting crazy. I got shit to take care of.
Right. And the crazy thing was just working in IT, that's how it is, right? Like depending on what you do in IT, I was on the sales side eventually. And with sales, when they have a good quarter, everything is good. When they have a couple bad quarters, even if you're doing your job, they gotta reduce that overhead and they're gonna tap you on the shoulder. So
yeah, when you're young with no responsibility, you're like, I ain't like this job anyway.
Right. You're like, thank you, mother.
Right. So it's funny that third time when that happened, I literally came home and I knew we were doing well from a business perspective, because I'm looking at the numbers every day. And I literally, like, they called me on the phone, laid me off because I worked remote, right? And I literally went into the system, ran a report, and gave myself a raise. Took my resume down off like LinkedIn, and I was like, "We pushing all these to the middle of the table. Let's make it work." And that was literally, I haven't been back since. I ain't gonna say I haven't thought about going back, but I ain't been back. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
I'm always curious to know, like, and maybe you don't know this. So when you start a business, like, because most franchises start as just an entrepreneur starting their own business, like, hey, I want to make burgers,
right.
And then people say, oh, this system is great. Maybe you should franchise it. So how do you know? Do you know if you go into a business, like somebody comes out to you? I don't even know if you do this type of consultant. If somebody wants to be franchise their business, like how do you know when it's ready to be a franchise?
Yeah. There's no, like, it's not to say you have to hit certain like metrics to be that. Like, you just have to be willing to put in the work and have to believe that people are going to want to invest in that model. So number one, are you making money? Right? Like, if you ain't making money, then it's probably not going to work, because it actually costs money to turn your business into a franchise. And then number two, what I always say is, can you do it in another location? Right? Because if you do it once, like, people like, yeah, but it worked there. I don't know if it'll work anywhere else. When you do it at least twice, in my opinion, that's when you start to say, okay, I have systems that I can follow, and I know how to fix certain things when they happen. And now I could hire some people and turn it into a franchise.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if it's people, because a lot of people think, oh, that was just one hit wonder type of thing. You got to make sure you can repeat that one hit wondering.
I mean, I give you an example, right? Like, we all probably have like an aunt or a grandma that's real good at cooking, right? And they make that dish and only they can do it, right? Well, then they can't turn that into a franchise, because when someone else does it, they don't taste the same.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So when they're able to show you, because a lot of people that can really cook, they don't measure stuff, right? They just they season with love, right? And you got to be able to get to a point where you say, okay, this is exactly what goes into this dish. And when you can do that, then you can franchise it if someone wants to eat that.
All right.
Man, that's a good way of putting that.
Yeah.
Now with the Pilates spot, did you like sell the franchise, or like, because you're not into that anymore, right?
Yeah, no. So I actually built two of them. So I used the proceeds. It was going real well. It was a top performer in the country. I built out another location, opened a second location like right in the middle of COVID, which was crazy. And it still did well. And then after, like, COVID just took a lot out of you as a business owner. Like, it was a stressful time. I mean, you're worried about you, but you're also worried about your employees, and just, when you get a email from the governor telling you to shut down your business, right? Meaning that you're not going to get any revenue that you've been getting. And you got to remember, I had just got laid off 6 months prior. Right. So I'm in my head, I'm like, oh, my Pilates studios are doing good. And then it all just kind of, and so for me, it was like, all right, since this is doing well, I want to take the capital from it. And I always say it's better to leave too early than too late, right? So I was like, listen, I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead, and then use that money, save up a little bit, and invest in something else. So I invested in another franchise that I'm building out now, and then still running the consulting firm.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. That COVID messed up everybody. But and it's so weird when I hear, it's crazy with that when I hear that, like what you just said, it's like, who do you talk to in that situation? Because nobody's ever been through to where the government has said. And if they had been, it might have been years and years back. Them people are gone now. So it's like, who do you go to in this situation that they said the government's telling me to shut down my business?
It was definitely uncharted water. Like, none of us have ever been through a global pandemic before. What was interesting, though, and one of the nice things about being with a franchise at that time was, so for example, if COVID kind of happened in waves, if you remember, right? And so it hit certain states differently. And even the states that it did, I mean, we live in Florida. There's not a lot of rules, right? Florida is very resistant to shutting down. We didn't shut down until mid-March. California had been shut down a while back, right? So the franchise company was able to look at the states that did shut down earlier and how they did things and able to give us information about, okay, this is what you do. This is what you tell your clients. This is what you tell your employees. This is what you tell your landlord. And so that's one of the beautiful things about being with a franchise. You're not in it by yourself. You're going to get some knowledge from some folks that have been down the road before. So that was very helpful. I mean, if this was Chris's Pilates studio and I was just figuring it out, I don't know that it would have worked out the way it worked out. So
yeah. Oh yeah, I like that. I like that because that means they still, because for some reason I didn't even think that the franchise would actually keep in contact with you like that. I almost feel like they would have just said, "Oh, here's your part, and get that money."
Yeah, when you pick a good franchise company, they're going to be very involved in everything. Like not necessarily all of the day to day, but they're definitely going to run some reports and tell you how you're performing, which I love. Like, you know, I'm competitive, right? So if I see you doing something, like I'm doing that too. You know what I mean? So like, if I see someone making some money over there, I get to call them up and be like, "Hey, man, what you doing?" Right? So that will like, and it's funny because when I went into business, like I wasn't trying to like. You know, I'm competitive, but I never had to be number one on any list or anything like that. But the franchise company called me one day like, "Hey, you know, you're doing well." And I had hit when I did it, I just came up with a number just based on the projections and the data that I was looking at. And I was like, man, if I could get to that, I'm good. Right. And so over time, I got to that number and I was ready to like relax and be like, okay, we just did it right here. We're good. And the franchise company called me like, "Hey, you did good. You hit that goal. But guess what? I think you could double it." And I was like, "Wait, what?" You know what I mean? So, and they had a plan for how to take the revenue from that number to 2x. And, you know, of course, it's not going to happen overnight either. But like we put that plan in place and it just kept happening. So I like that because sometimes when you're ready to just kind of like relax and cool out, the franchise companies kind of giving you that kick. Like, nah, we need, you know, they make more money the more you make, right? So they're not going to, you know, not leave money on the table if they could avoid it. So
I'm always curious, like like when somebody says, "Hey, Legacy Franchise Ventures," like I always wanted to be in a franchise. Like, so what they call you? I'm like, "Hey, Chris, I got I got a couple of $100,000 packed away, and I'm thinking about getting a franchise, but I don't know exactly. Is that how the conversation kind of goes? Like, hey, I think I want to be in franchise, but I don't really know exactly which one. Is that how it kind of works?
Yeah, I typically get two calls, right? The first call is I want to do like this thing. Like they like I'm dead. I was talking to a friend of mine on Twitter this morning, and she's like, "I gotta open a Crumble Cookies, you know, the cookie spot."
Yeah.
So I'm working with her now to kind of put that plan in place. So you'll have people that know what they want, or I always say know what they think they want, right? And sometimes, because if I had $1 for every time one of our people came and said, "Hey, I want to open a Chick-fil-A," and then when I tell them about Chick-fil-A, they're like, "Hey, wait a minute, nah, that ain't what I want." And I'm not beating up on Chick-fil-A. Like Chick-fil-A is a great company, but you have to work there, right? Like they're not in the mold of like, okay, you could keep your job. Like, nah, they need you on them fries like 40 to 60 hours a week, right? So when I tell people, and I don't make decisions for people, I just give them information. All right, you want a Chick-fil-A, here's what it's going to take, and this is what you're going to have to do. And if that's for you, we can walk down that path. So that's the first call I typically get. The second call is kind of people like me, like, "Hey, I want to do something because either I got laid off or, you know, grandpa left me some money and I want to do something with it, or I want to come up with a plan to leave corporate America, but I don't know what to do. I have no clue what's out there. I don't know what's good from what's bad." Like those are the people that I work with a lot because, you know, like I said, once you can open someone's eyes to just what's out there from an industry perspective, it just starts to make a lot of sense. So.
Like, you always see all these commercials like, "Oh, for this franchise, you can start for $5,000." Like, do you find that, like, if I had like $10,000 saying like, "You know what, I got $10,000, I want to start this franchise," can I find a franchise for it that I can start with $10,000?
Yeah,
no,
you can.
Most likely it's a service type of franchise.
Not like even Chick-fil-A. I think Chick-fil-A's investment is only $10,000, but you don't actually own it, right? So what you're doing in a lot of those situations is Chick-fil-A is saying, "Hey, I'm going to pay you, like, you're going to get money from the revenue that we're going to bring in." Like, you never seen a Chick-fil-A without the line around the corner, right? Like, typically, but guess what? In 5 years from now, if you say, "Hey, listen, this was great, I want to sell this business and do something else," Chick-fil-A is going to say, hey, if you don't want to do this anymore, that's cool. Give me my restaurant back, and you go about your way. You don't have it, so you don't own it, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's what you get is what you pay for. And so if you think of it, Chick-fil-A costs like $1 million. Just think about what the construction costs and what the equipment costs. It's way more than $10,000, right? Like, so there's no way that they're going to give that to you for free and just let you ride off into the sunset. But, you know, if you don't mind working there for those 40 hours a week or whatever it is, you can make a sizable income, but you don't have anything you don't have an asset that you own, something that you could sell.
So it's like a franchise lease. I didn't know this existed.
Yeah, that is what that's considered. Really.
Yeah. Well, so and that's that. Like with my consultations, I ask people like, okay, why do you want to get in business? And if they say, well, I want to leave something to my son, like I name my firm Legacy because I'm all about leaving something for the people that come behind us, right? So if they tell me that that's their reason or their impetus, like Rob said earlier, right? See, if that's
words.
If that's their reason for going into it, then I'm going to give them the information, and I'm not trying to steer them, you know, to or from it, but I just want them to make an informed decision. And if that's the case, then they're probably going to end up choosing something else.
Right.
Yeah. That'd be tough. I mean, I wonder if there's ever a chance where you get to own it, like full out own it. I guess,
Wait,
rent to own, like rent to own joint. Rent to own this joint. Eventually, can I have?
Oh, you just there forever? It's just everybody in your family there forever.
As far like it's funny when you really look at like the business model behind a lot of those fast food restaurants, like they sell burgers and fries and chicken tenders, but they're really real estate companies, right? So McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, they own that real estate, and that's what they're really banking on. Now they will, you know, bring in some money from the food as well, but you know, they're not just going to give you that restaurant because that's worth a couple million, right? And they're not going to give it to you for 10 grand.
Yeah, watching that movie about Ray Kroc at McDonald's, he was the one that really started like, hey, we're a real estate company, not a not a. I was like, oh, there it is. Yeah. Damn, I lost my train of thought thinking about Ray Kroc. That wasn't where I was. It was a great movie. So if you never saw it, everybody go check it out. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Kroc. Is it called Kroc?
I think, Kroc something. Yeah,
Kroc something. I think it's something else behind it, but yeah, we know it's on Netflix, ain't it?
I don't know. I saw it.
I think so.
A while ago. I don't know, but it was a very good movie. It gave you a good insight in terms of like startups and startup franchises and how they started, because it was like, it wasn't, obviously it was a mom and pop shop. It was two brothers or something like that at first.
Right.
And then they kind of took it to a different level. Well, my man took it to a different level because he owned one of the franchises, but then he saw, hey, this could be more than what y'all doing with it.
And that, you know, when you ask that question about how do you turn a business into a franchise, like I always remind people, McDonald's started off with one location at one time, right? I mean, we look at it today and we see them on every corner and it's just like a thing, but that's not how they started, right? They started with one location that they were like, hey, I want to do this again, right? And you get to a point where you physically can't do it, right? Like you got to place people in. So I always tell franchising is a great way to build your business with other people's money, right? Because with franchising, the investor comes in and pays you for the secret sauce, and they do the work or hire people to do the work, and you sit back and collect a percentage of the money that comes in. So it's brilliant.
Yeah. So that's a lot though. That's still kind of scary. Like the being a franchise, all this entrepreneur shit scares me, man. I always be like, because I always think to myself, you know what, I wouldn't mind doing this, doing that. And then I'll be like, shit, what if that don't work?
There's no safety net, so it's not.
It ain't no safety net, man. That shit is scary.
It ain't for the weak. You know what I mean? Like it's you know, it's real money too. You know,
know what it is? It's for a nigga that been laid off 3 times.
There it is, right?
It's like I was just gonna say, it's like a homeowner. Like when you renting, you can call somebody to fix that. Oh, I got a leak. But when you're a homeowner, you're like, oh, I gotta fix that leak.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and with renting, like if something go wrong when your lease is done, you leave, right? You go get another spot, right?
Right.
And that's your house.
Right.
You know, so
sometimes you wish you could leave. You be like, fuck, $10,000 I gotta put in for that pipe.
Yeah, I'm out, right? Nah, that's good. Yeah, it is scary, but I think being that when you pick a good franchise company, you get so much help with a lot of the stuff. Like think of if you start a business on your own, you got to come up with the idea, you got to figure out how to price it, you got to figure out how to find customers, you got to grow brand recognition because no one knows who the hell you are. The franchise should have all of those things in place, and you literally sign the paper and you're off the ground running, right? Like you got some wind beneath you, you're ready to roll. So it's still scary though, because like I said, it's real money, and not all franchises are successful. I mean, a good number of them are, but if you don't put in that work, it ain't gonna happen.
Right, because you were talking about Crumble. I think it's like a Utah-based cookie company, and now people in Delaware.
Yeah,
some of this is the power of TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah,
that made these brands pop for real.
Hey, whatever it takes,
whatever it works.
Yeah. Now you can get marketed if you get the right person to talk about your brand. It can take it to a different stratosphere. And I think that's what happened to Crumble, because I didn't know what Crumble was. My daughter had to tell me what Crumble was. I was like, "What is Crumble?" I was like, "Well, it's a cookie shop."
Yeah.
So I always because I always see a lot of these the post about Bojangles to buy a franchise for Bojangles. I'm like, yo, that would be great. I love Bojangles.
Right.
But it's like, where would you put a Bojangles at? Like,
well,
so do they when you franchise these places find the spot for you, or like it's something that you already gotta, like the areas already have to be built up, or is it something that they find out for you, like it should go in this spot? Or
they'll help you. So your boots on the ground, right? You know your community better than they do because they're probably halfway across the world. But the good franchise companies invest in a lot of data around like census data. So they'll know, like, I guarantee you when a Starbucks, a Chick-fil-A, any of those big companies pop up, it's for a specific reason, right? They know the household income. They know how many houses are within a 1, 2, 3 mile radius. They know how much how much people are spending money, how much discretionary income they have. They even can project what the population will be in 5 or 10 years, right? And so they use all of that data to make pretty smart decisions. And they pass that off to you. I mean, you're the business owner. So it's funny, like with Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, they're going to tell you where to go. Like you sign up with them, they're going to say, hey, you got to move to Iowa or wherever it is, right? But with some of these newer brands that have a lot more white space, you can say, hey, I want to bring one to, my town here in Delaware, wherever it is. And they'll allow you to do it if it checks the boxes.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Bojangles. I can think of a place or two.
Let's do that. Let's franchise in Bojangles.
Hey, I know a guy that can help you with that. Just let me know.
All right, let's go. But it's crazy that you said that, because in the area that I live in, I consider it. I'm not going to say it's low income. I don't know what they consider this area, but it's weird because we got we have a Starbucks like right across the street from me, but I always feel like it's like out of place, because I'm looking at the area. I'm like, why do we have a Starbucks here? And I guess they're doing all right because they built a hotel next to it. I'm like, and it's like a Marriott, one of those Marriott brands.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what's going on? Maybe they see something different that's going to happen in the area, because they're working on this whole 95 Route 9 corridor shit. But it's like, I know it's right off the highway going into Jersey.
I think that's the biggest thing, is that it's
that's
right
probably
there.
Not actually the area. It's probably just the spot next to the
highway.
highway.
Right? Like if you're on a road trip, right? And I always say this, you're hungry, right?
Right.
Even if you don't really eat McDonald's, when you see them golden arches,
you
see McDonald's or you see Ted's Burger Joint, you're gonna be like, nah, I'm gonna rock with the McDonald's because I know what to expect.
McDonald's,
Ted's might be really good, right? But you don't want to take that chance on a road trip, right?
No, you know what? And now that you put it that way, because all this stuff, like you name it, you can see it off the highway. You can see the McDonald's off the highway,
and people they'll get into 3 lanes to get over there. You know what I mean?
And it's right before the bridge going to New Jersey, so it's like, okay, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I always look at the area like, but now I think about it, I've been to places where I've gotten off the highway to go grab something to eat, and I'll be like, where am I at? Like, this is kind of sketchy.
Right.
like and sometimes I'll be like, why would they even have this spot here? But now that looking at it like that, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. It ain't the actual area; it's the spot where people can get to it easily. That's not from here,
Right?
but people from here probably don't even go there. I don't know.
You'd be surprised.
I don't know. Yeah, I would be because I don't drink Starbucks at all. I'll go straight to the Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, that's a franchise too, right? Can't you franchise Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah.
I thought Indian people. Nah, never mind.
Well, that's still a franchise, like 7-Eleven, and like Wawa's a chain, so that's not the same. Wawa is not a franchise.
Oh, okay. So you can't franchise Wawa. You had it's just a chain, and they just build their own shit and hire people to work there.
Same thing with Starbucks. Yeah. My son just busted in there. What's up, man?
He said, "When I get 30, you gonna buy me a cupcake?"
Like, I hear you talking.
I heard what you said. Yeah,
I'm gonna hold you to that. 30 years old, I'm coming.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna do shit before 30. He just gonna be like,
he gonna be leaning back.
Oh yeah, Starbucks. Unless you're Magic Johnson, it's he is able to.
Yeah, that's not a franchise either. That's they don't offer them to but you got play ball for a couple years and got a few million. They'll figure something out for you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Slap Magic on there, Magic Johnson, Starbucks. Yeah, we got you.
There you go. We'll make it work.
I'm curious. So when people come, like before people come to you, I guess they should do some pre-work. Like, is there a checklist of things that people should kind of know before they reach out? Like, maybe I need to have at least this. Like, is there a checklist on what people should look at before they reach out?
Not really. I mean, no one buys a business overnight. Like, it's a process that you're gonna have to go through, and so you might as well just reach out to me to get there. Now, let me say this: if your credit is 400 or 500, you know what I mean, you can't get a loan, then you can still call me, but just know that it's going to take you some time unless you have cash, right? So you got to have a little cash, you got to have some good credit typically. And when I say a lot of cash, it's not a lot of cash. It's literally 20% of whatever the project is, right? So if you find a franchise that's 100,000, you just need 20 grand, like buying a house, right? You need 20% down, credit score of probably 680. The higher credit score, the better the rate you'll get. But that's literally all you need, like on paper. And then you just kind of got to figure out what you're good at, what how many hours you want to spend, and all that stuff, and I'll help you figure that out.
Okay. Okay. So,
that kind of makes it a little less scary, because if I could just call you,
right?
I mean, I know you want to get shit, you want to get paid off of this shit too, but like if I could just call you and really not have anything in order that much, but be able to talk to you for some assistance, then yeah.
And the crazy thing is, I don't even charge for my consultations, right? So it's on the house. Look at Rod. Rod's like, oh.
Free consultation, people. Oh, we about to blow your phone up.
Yeah, free consultations, like and the dope thing. That's why I say it's the best job I ever had. I get to teach people. It's something I'm passionate about. I don't have to charge my clients anything. And y'all are like, well, how you get paid? But the franchise companies pay me for having those conversations. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So I don't charge and it's not like they just add more money on to what they was going to charge you. Like, the cost of the franchise is the cost of the franchise. They've done some research, and they show that when people work with a good franchise consultant and it's a good match, those people make more money and stay in the system longer. So they're like, Chris here. Like, you know what I mean?
It's like a marketing expense for them.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. They know that they're going to get their money back in the long run, because royalties, those every month, those are coming in, and most franchise agreements are 10 years, right? So just imagine, how much money that's going to bring in if that location does well, or whatever business it is.
Nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
See?
So do you have you ever did a broad audience type of consultation instead of like individuals, like just have like a course or a class or something like?
So I've done like a webinar, seminars and stuff like that. I've done more online. I'll do it at like a local church, or sometimes like a fraternity will bring me in. But always looking for those. So if you want me to come and talk to your group, or even if it's online in person, I travel for it. I go all over the country doing it. I'm just not famous, which is okay with me. The goal is always to be rich and not famous for me. So,
Yo, you may not be famous to you though,
Right.
but
that's fair. That's fair.
Somebody else thinks you're famous.
Hey, my mama.
No, we were like, yeah, we just had Chris Wilson on. They're like, Chris Wilson, the franchise guy.
Right. Goals, right? Speak that into existence. I love that.
But it's crazy because even though you may not consider yourself famous, but maybe in the franchise, in that franchise world, you are like.
Now that's true. It is a small world, like on the franchise side. Like I always joke, one of my boys, we actually met when I went to the Discovery Day in California. He was looking at the same franchise, and we were the only two black dudes in the room, right? It's a room with like 20 people. And so we gave each other, the soul brother. Like, and we
are in the beer. We in the beer world, boy. We know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So imagine it in Pilates, right? Like 5 years ago, like we was looking at him like, oh, it's another one of us. Okay, cool. And he's done real well. He's still my boy. He has a couple locations out in Tampa. But yeah, so in that world, it's not a lot of people. You start to see the same folks at like conventions and stuff like that, which is dope.
Yeah.
So you're probably right. Yeah.
See.
I don't know how far you're into the process, because I know you have mentioned that you are on to your next franchise. I don't know if you want to speak about that or what you're doing on that, or how far in the process are you into that? It's like grand opening coming?
Yeah, no. So I just had our grand opening in September. We launched a salon suite, which is another franchise called Salons by JC. So what we do is we rent out space to beauty and wellness professionals. So think barbers, hairstylists, nail techs, nurse practitioners, chiropractors, anyone that can use like about 100 square feet. So we have a almost 7,000 square foot facility right here outside of Orlando, Florida, in a town called Maitland. Just opened up in September and doing well so far, filling up those suites as fast as we can. And then I'm going to do a couple more of those locations somewhere. I'm not sure where yet.
Right.
All right. Nice. I wonder if that, because it's almost like you rent I guess it's like one of those ones where you have, like, I guess almost like an incubator type of thing where you just go into space, or like what's that share space type of thing where
like WeWork or Regis and all that.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing, but it's for, think of like salon professionals, right? So your barber, you'll come here, your barber will have his own or her own suite, with the key on their door. They set their own hours, they bring their own business. They don't have to, be there because the boss says be there. They're their own entrepreneur. And they're going to rent that space from us, for whatever we charge for the week. And, they run their business and everyone's happy. So it's a really great fit. I get to, help people grow their business, which I'm passionate about, obviously. Have less employees than I had at the Pilates studio, which is awesome. Not that I don't like people or anything, but, when you manage people,
you got to pay them too.
You got to pay them too. And
you got to deal with them.
It comes up. Exactly. So I went from having, 40, 50 employees down to having just one at each location, which is super dope to me. Yeah. Right.
Because you don't want nobody jumping over your counter and trying to get their coat. That lady trying to get her coat from her.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
We'll be happening to people. That's maybe that Bojangles ain't a good idea.
I'm thinking janitorial would probably be a little easier. I think go in, clean, keep it moving. You guys know too many people.
You want to talk about franchises that just make some money, like that commercial cleaning space. It ain't really sexy, but oh my goodness, bro.
Oh man, maybe that's something I should look into.
Yeah.
And because most of them buildings be empty by the time you get to cleaning, so you don't got to deal with nobody.
That's right.
All right.
I talk to Chris. He is the man.
Any more questions for anything else you want to tell somebody thinking about starting a franchise? call me.
Yeah,
Would you say you? Anything else you want to tell me? 'Cause,
the big thing I tell people is don't talk yourself out of it. Like I did for years, saying, "Oh, I gotta have this, I gotta have that," which is why I was kind of hesitant to answer the question the way you framed it. Just get some information. It's not going to cost you anything, and if it makes sense, you'll move forward. If not, you'll wait until it makes sense. So that's the biggest, advice I give to someone. Don't talk yourself out of it before you get the information.
All right. And remember, call Chris, because somebody talked him into actually being a consultant because he did such a good job of researching these franchises. So that should tell you something right there. Like, oh, like he didn't say, "Yeah, I'm great at doing this." Somebody else said, "Yeah, you're good at doing this." All right. That's a big key.
But what goes into researching a franchise? Like you looking at their numbers and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the numbers, but more importantly, I'm looking at their business model, because like we're humans, right? And so we have certain emotional things that we're going to be looking for. Like for me, it was stability, right? I didn't want to be laid off again. So I wanted something that I knew could be pretty stable, right? You might be looking for something fast paced and, fast moving. You like, you say you don't like people. You want to be in the cleaning the spaces at night, right? But those are all things that go into it, right? So I'm looking at that. I'm going out, I'm meeting the people that are running the franchise companies, because a lot of it is going to be culture fit, right? Like if you're an extrovert, you probably want to rock with other extroverts, right? And so if that person's an introvert, that might not be a good connection for you. So I'm looking at all of that, and I look at it like, you remember Hitch, that movie with Will Smith? I'm like that for franchises, right? You tell me who you are, what you're looking for. I figure all of that out, and then I match you with a franchise, and it's love connection. Everybody makes money. That's the way it's supposed to work.
There it is.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
All right.
Good. That's a good way of putting that.
Yeah.
All right. Any more questions for Chris?
Nah, for the sake of time, no. We could be here all day.
Fellas, this was fun, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, we want to thank Chris Porcelain of Legacy Franchise Ventures.
Mm-hmm. Hey, let me plug the podcast before we go. So I have a podcast on franchising. Yeah, called Winning Franchise Formula. You'll find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the other platforms. So if you just want to get some information, listen to a couple episodes, like and subscribe, and tell me what you're drinking, and I'll help you find a franchise. How about that?
I like it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that anyway. So you gave it to me anyway. That was my question. Before we go, is there a website for the Legacy the franchise consultant? Is there a website for that too?
Yeah, so www.legacyfv.com. So Legacy, F is in franchise, V is in ventures.com. And then the podcast is Winning Franchise Formula Podcast. So
Winning Franchise Formula Podcast.
Yo, can you become a franchise like your company, the Legacy?
It is franchise, actually.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So if you want to be a franchise consultant, I can show you how to do that too.
Yeah.
Okay. I call my kids the franchise. You know what I mean? Like,
he out here franchising kids.
Well, if he got more than one, I guess it is.
It is.
Whoa, wait. Nah, you know what? That can go so many places. I did it twice. I can do it again.
Yeah. All right. Yo, where can they find you at?
Office who, me or?
Yeah, well, you got where can they find you on IG, social media, and all this good stuff?
Okay, got you. Yeah. On IG it's what is it? LFV Consultants. Office number is 689-244-1914.
All right, yo.
You can find me on IG at IM302YODA. That's pretty much it.
Shout out to Lou Belgium. You can find him on Instagram at Lou Belgium. You can listen to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or you can say, Alexa, play Brews and Banter Podcast. If you want to follow the podcast, you can go to Instagram, Facebook, and X, TikTok. Remember to smash that like button, rate and review, all that good stuff. Leave a comment leave a comment on post, rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever your favorite platform is, because that is the best way to say, yo, We love Brews and Banter podcast. Shout out to Arby Plaza. Like, no, I'm just joking.
He's stupid.
No, shout out to her because she is from Delaware. But if you follow her page, you know I said that. But you can go to www.brewsandbanter.com as well to check out what we got coming up. We do got coming up soon in February. We have our new, we spoke about last week, our new Black trivia or trivia experience coming to a brewery near you. More details to follow soon. So come out if you know as much as you think you know about Martin or and living color. I
Color.
I mixed
You
them
mixed
up.
them two together.
Yeah,
And,
I did.
And Fresh Prince of
Fresh
Bel-Air.
Prince. Yeah, if you know as much about you think you do, come out and hang with us. More details to follow. Once again, want to thank Chris Wilson for coming through on the podcast. This has been episode 2.
Wait, Rob, where can they find you at?
Oh, if you want to find me, Rob Stay Bruton, there it is. Bing, 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 bing. Yeah, everybody know by now. There it is. Master of Pod. Master of Banter. All right. Until next time. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye. Hey.
Set the scene.